Tips for avoiding conflicts before DNA results come out. Part of the series, Good Communication with Nikon. That is our topic for today.
Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and Podcast by InstantMediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube, the Instant Mediations app, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact dependent.
Hey everyone, this is Mac Pierre-Louis, attorney, mediator, arbitrator, working throughout Florida and Texas.
And Natalia Łowska-Czajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland.
And I am Angela Miller, and I'm from Mediation Nikon, and I am in Florida.
All right. Hi, Angela. Good to see you again. And
Hi.
it's been a little while since you had come last time. You were doing and are continuing to do this series on dealing with conflicts when they connect to you discovering genetic testing results, DNA results. And so anybody who's interested in this topic should definitely check out her website. She has a blog on it where she writes about these topics, and that's mediationnecon.com. It's right on your label there. And so today, wanted to continue on with this conversation. And this time, we're going to turn it over to Angela to talk to us a little bit about how to avoid conflicts with information on things that you might not know, that you might not think about. Okay, anybody who finds themselves in the situation where they do discovery by finding the DNA results that connects them with somebody else, then they want to break the ice and enter into a relationship, a family relationship with the individual. They may benefit from some of the things we're going to hear today. And so, Angela, could you tell us a little bit about how a person should be preparing for risks? So, what kind of risks do people typically see when they discover DNA results that connect them to somebody else and they want to make a relationship?
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Mac and Natalia, this is a new area, I think, of mediation that really needs attention because there's so many risks. You are starting a new relationship, just like most mediation is to help with relationships you're presently in that involves conflict or ending that relationship. But this entering into a new relationship also needs some attention in the same manner so that you don't push somebody away unintentionally. And that's from my own experience. For example, when you get these DNA results, they're so abundant for some people, so many, and you have to sort through them and try to organize who to contact. And so that's one thing is how do you attend to the needs of someone you've never met? How do you know what their limitations are? And it's basically just using basic etiquette. For example, send in a short email that's very simple, introducing yourself, letting them know that you have a DNA genetic connection and that you would like to introduce yourself very basically, and you look forward to them corresponding back. At that point, it is their choice. And people kind of get so overwhelmingly excited about finding relatives and waiting for people to contact them back that they inadvertently push them away by sending 2 or 3 or 4 emails instead of patiently waiting. And now you're coming off as being pushy instead of excited, and that's not your intention at all. And then the other thing is evaluating your own judgments. How do you prepare for what you may find? What if you've been told your whole life that there's nobody who's culturally related in your family, and you've heard all these negative things about that culture or been taught these negative things about a culture, And then you get your DNA results and find out you actually have relatives of that culture.
That's
So,
actually very interesting, and I think that that can open the horizons for someone, but equally that can create an internal conflict. That I am becoming to be part of the culture I normally hated. That I am becoming a part of someone who I never wanted to be, and I need to reconcile those conflicts just inside myself. Sometimes I might need a therapy for that. However,
right.
you said that we might be contacting those people, and then there is a high risk of being rejected this other end. And on the other hand, that can influence your current relationships. Angela, you
Right.
have your own experiences on that. Can you tell us how you see it? What can be done to prepare ourselves for this total eruption that can really result in our lives out of that, exposing us to new experiences, but causing damage, perhaps, to the ones that we are in?
Sure. Thank you, Natalia. Because from my own experience, I will tell you that there was erosion of some relationships. And it was because my perception of what is acceptable isn't acceptable in all relationships. I'm so sorry, you guys. I need to stop real quick. And so in that relationship, for example, my mother's perception of what her decisions were viable by her in that time period. But that time period has changed. And I can't imagine today her making the same decisions that she made 50 years ago because of these law changes, these acceptance now of these things. And then you look at when you're also trying to prevent these erosions, more damage is caused because now you may be perceived as taken aside. And that wasn't your intention at all. And that's not the way it was meant. But now it's as if you're defending one party and not another, too. And this becomes mentally draining. And so, what was supposed to be exciting about finding out historical facts and who you are and where you come from has now become a big problem. And
Yeah.
getting through
So
that.
a person, you're saying a person can then sometimes find themselves in the middle, stuck in the middle. You know,
Yes.
there's no good choice, right? And you're
No.
placed there usually. You place it not because of a decision that you made. Usually, the person who's finding the DNA results is not they weren't the cause of any of this. You
Right.
just find yourself in it, and then you're having to make some decisions. So that therefore, from your perspective, if you have bad options, what's your least bad option when it comes to how do you react, and you don't want to get hurt?
I think if I had to tell people today, what I do is I tell them think from the culprit mindset to prevent it. You have to literally enter this in reverse. I'm meeting somebody, I'm introducing myself to them. I'm hoping to establish a relationship. And I have an idea of what that relationship looks like, but they may not have that same thought about this. And learning that you have a new relative might just be suffice for them. It might be enough. And that's not sufficient for you. And so you have to think from the culprit view. What ifs? Let's address those what ifs in my mind in advance so that I can prevent some of these hardships before they happen.
And to me, it seems like we really need to be having in mind not just us. Things that are exciting to us can seem detrimental or ruining the lives of the others. And I think that we need to think, okay, I have those DNA results. I'm doing something good because I am showing off. I am reaching out. I am trying to establish a connection. But what if this other person lives in his own life that is totally and perfectly established? This reaching out, whether you are a new son, daughter, cousin, or from someone from the past that they
Mhm.
wanted to forget about, and suddenly you are bringing all those memories to their lives. Maybe what you are doing is ruining someone else's lives, relationships, perception of themselves. And I do think that we need to prepare ourselves for a great part of disappointment in any attempt we might be making to contact this other person. I would want to hear something more from your experience, and how do you think in this sort of situational position mediation can help at all?
I think everything is also timing. I found a relative who just so happened I happened oddly to correspond with them on their 40th wedding anniversary.
Hmm.
And this person had not told their spouse that they had um, a relationship with anybody prior to them. They had a beautiful marriage, two kids, and anything outside of any conceiving an additional child was not ever discussed or shared. And now here I am on their 40th wedding anniversary, what was supposed to be a day of celebration, a celebratory acts. All of a sudden, I invaded with this secret that was out there. And that didn't make me feel good. I mean, all of a sudden, the thing that was supposed to be celebrated by me too, this finding was no longer festive because of that, because of the timing. Another was a relative. I created a family tree for all the way back to the 1600s with Ellis Island entries, registries, all these things, and gave it to that relative. And the relative said they threw it away and said they didn't want it because the person who was all connected to, the parent that was, whose real history that most of this belonged to, had abandoned them when they were a child. So therefore, they wanted nothing to do with that missing or absent parent and their history. And so it's another act of pain or cause by you unknowingly. And that's why I said entering into it with the mind of the culprit, the things that could go wrong to prevent them from happening, and learning where your limitations are, not how to push your excitement onto others, risking their disappointment, and knowing what actual etiquette is in corresponding back and forth to prevent those judgments and to lessen the pain that either one of you have. Because you're not entering this to erode relationships or to cause harm or pain. Most of us aren't. Most of us are sincerely looking because we're curious. And then what you find could be a blessing, or it could also become a heartache.
Yeah, Angela, would you say to some folks out there who might be facing some of these issues that there may be not a happy ending? Because we all like that. We all like these, happy ending stories. I see the people running in the airport, hugging each other, and they're discovering each other for the first time, and they're crying, and it's so emotionally, powerful. And everyone's like, it's like you want closure. You want them to be together. It makes you feel good. But
Yeah.
I mean, how bad can this get? That's I'm just curious because I haven't had to live this personally, my own immediate family, you know. So I'm just curious from you what your perspective is on how bad it can get.
I, I think it is, that's their story. It's not yours. And we have a tendency to always want the Cinderella ending. And that sets us up sometimes because we're not promised that Cinderella ending. Just like marriage isn't, um, you know, um, decisions we make about having relationships with people that hurt us or break our hearts, it falls in that same category. But this is a new relationship. And I think with any new relationship, there's risk of disappointment. So I think setting those boundaries in advance for yourself, and also when you start communicating, we've got to learn to respect boundaries. And there's also a fear of setting those boundaries up so that you don't hurt somebody's feelings, but actually it needs to come across as you're protecting them and you're protecting you.
Yeah,
So
all these theories say that what we can control in a relationship is actually us and not the other party. By
exactly.
contacting, we're exposing ourselves to things that can then become detrimental to others. What if there will be anger in reaction to what we do? What
Mm-hmm.
if there will be, I'm not saying an assault, but a very, let us say, painful part of the truth we were not aware of? What if we are not prepared to receive all this information? How do we prepare ourselves to receive a painful part of
Right.
our past, of the past of the family? You mentioned one day that that is also a part of, for example, your health exposures,
Exactly.
that you might not be prepared to learn that your relative is suffering from a disease or cancer or some sort of genetically related syndrome or condition.
Mhm.
And now you are learning that you are equally exposed to that, or your children are.
Right. Right. And so this is where I think mediation is a big need for situations like this, is someone who has, one, been through it themselves, and two, from their own experiences of not having this available when I started my own discoveries, they would have been handled much differently. And looking at how that is the ability then to help others. Because if I correspond after 2 or 3 times and I want to actually sit on a phone with you, I need to prepare myself in advance for what I'm about to learn or hear, or not what I wasn't prepared for. And also for any secrets that are out there now, because those are hard pills to swallow. And I think that's where mediation helps. We can take a different kind of turn in not only helping people through trouble, but also how to prevent it.
Gotcha. So with only
Yeah.
a few minutes left, could and we probably could take this on to a second episode, but could you wrap up with some etiquette of how to respond, some specific tips you might give somebody who's in this for the first time and who's, well, usually
Sure.
it's the first time and only time, right? But who's going
Yes.
through this. Mhm.
I think there's a basic introduction. Hi, I noticed that we are genetically related. My name is blank and I live in such and such, and name your parents or the parent that is related to them so that they can also see a connection. Okay. The other thing is just keep the English very simple, or the exchange, no matter what language you're using, very simple. Just keep it simple. Don't ask a lot of questions. Don't bombard them. That's a way to push them off. Limit your attempts to two. If really eager, then three, and give time in between each one. And don't push the issue. Hey, I've emailed you and I haven't heard back from you. It's their decision, their choice, whether or not they want to correspond back. And so keep that ownership in their area. Don't take it from them, because it's not a requirement. It's not a requirement for someone to correspond back to anyone that's communicated with them. The other one is be mindful of what you're going to exchange. Be very mindful of it. It's just an introduction. You're not planning your life together. Not yet.
And I think that one of the points that you mentioned is also allow time, right? Allow time to yourself, allow time for things to happen with the other person, and respecting their boundaries, right?
Mhm. Yes. I think we have a reversal in society today in regards to boundaries, that boundaries aren't bad. Okay. They're not bad. It's actually appeasing to the two parties to make sure that you are respecting them. And that's the way you need to enter this. And that's the way we need to go forward with it.
All right. So, guys, we're going to pause here and we'll continue this topic at another episode soon. But Angela Miller, thank you so much from mediationnecon.com. And everybody who needs this information, please check it out on her website. If you know someone who needs it, please share it from the channel.
Yes.
All right. Take care until next time.
Bye, Mac. Bye, Natalia. Thank you, guys.